Is it going to raise the potential of human capability? No. It's just going to free up some head trash.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
For the human capability that you have. It's not going to make you a robo-like version of yourself, but it might open your mind's capabilities to be able to do more.
What does it mean to plant your flag? It means you're not afraid.
It means you're passionate about what you do.
It means you're here to serve others.
In business, in life.
In good and bad.
You aren't afraid to fly your colors proudly because you know
you serve a greater purpose. This is the Plant Your Flag podcast with Mike Bean
and Jeremy Mountain.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Plant Your Flag. We're going to dive into a recap of the last episode with John Porter and what we learned from it. There's a lot of information that we're excited to talk about that revolves around how business practices and AI collide and how we've started to apply that information in our business. We hope that you'll learn some of it that you could apply towards your business. So my partner here, Jeremy Mountain, and I'm Mike Bean. So Jer, let's jump into it.
Yeah, obviously meeting John Porter in real life was exciting. Someone who we've been sort of spending some time with, learning some things that we can do to make Bean Media better. And we thought it would be good to maybe share a little bit of that experience. Mike being obviously the owner and founder of Bean Media, being the original flag planter, we figured I can sort of speak to him a little bit about some of the things that he's learned through interviewing John and then applying some of what he's done with John in our real world. And then we can also talk a little bit about what we've seen in our world as far as AI, marketing, some of that stuff, whether it's in Meta ads, Google ads, SEO. We'll just do a quick little refresh on that. And ultimately, like Mike said, hopefully this is valuable to someone out there who's in business or just studying AI and how it's affecting our world. So as you were the one to interview John, and now you have spent some time working with John, what are some of the first things that you have taken away when it comes from talking about it to doing it?
It's not easy. I think if it's done the right way, it needs to be set up in a way that you have to be methodical about it. You have to start small, like he said, because if you start, and now I understand why he said if you start too big, it's never going to happen. Like 70% of these ideas fail because people start too big, too fast, and then they give up. So now as I'm going through the application process of linking accounts and streamlining our business processes, it totally makes sense in that respect.
Yeah, and some of what we started learning on some of our introductory calls with John in terms of like work process management was a term that stuck out to us because we were sort of looking at some solutions. And to back it up and be specific, this would be applying artificial intelligence to Bean Media's business in terms of all of the processes and things that Mike has to do to try and improve and speed those things up so that he can be more present and available on other things when it comes to growing the business.
Exactly.
And in discussing some of the opportunities that are out there with him in the introductory stages, work process management was a term that popped, and we both kind of, our heads did the dog thing where you tilt your head like, wait, what was that? Because he had said, this particular application, what we were talking about wanting to be able to do, he kind of said, that's not even really AI. That's just work process management. And I think that was a big step for both of us in understanding this entire operation, because we see the stuff, here's what you look like when, you're 90, and here's, you can punch this prompt in and get it to say this and create art and photo, et cetera, websites in 2 seconds. But trying to understand, how is this actually going to make money? How is this going to improve the business? obviously we hear these horror stories about people getting just shit canned because AI is going to solve everything.
Right.
I think that conversation is what really put it in perspective for me. Was it's not replacing you, it's the ability of taking your acumen and accelerating it. And that was where it really opened my eyes to, okay, this isn't something to fear. This isn't something that's going to gut you and replace you with metal bones and like Drake, and have a Jeremy walking around that's going to take my life.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to accelerate Jeremy and make Jeremy more powerful, which is scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to it to a certain extent, but also a little worried about it.
Yeah.
But no, I agree in that it's not, I think, what everybody paints it to be.
But you don't know. You don't until you're
Until
looking
you
someone in the
start to
eye who
get-
truly understands it, like John.
who studied it he worked for aerospace science.
Yeah.
And like has so many different careers and businesses, clearly understands code. I've had multiple conversations with him, since the podcast. Just the way that he breaks things down makes more sense of the whole reason why it can help a business. Not take someone's job, but help streamline processes. Like you said, work process management.
I think like it's a little bit intimidating, and stepping into it, I was obviously with you for the introductory calls, but then as you have started to apply some of these things, because the opening conversation was obviously almost like intimidatingly exciting. Like, oh my God, like I think both of our minds just shot into all these like realistic now.
Yeah, like the once again, we use the beautiful mind kind of thing.
Yes,
Like all these
yes.
things started to appear in front of us.
Yes.
Like, well, okay, what can we do? How can we apply this? Where can we use this?
Yes.
And then we realize we have to scale it back to let's just start with this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, and how do and then therefore how has your experience been building confidence in the platform? Because I believe it was N8N is the platform you're using.
Yes.
But what are some of your first inklings of like that world? Because the flow chart is something easy to see on a demonstration, but when you're actually tangibly building, if this happens, then this happens to do this, and then send this back to this, then send this back to this. That's obviously some of the stuff you've actually been tangibly doing. What do you have to say to another business owner around Buffalo or the world in terms of like taking those first steps?
I believe it's worth, like the juice is worth the squeeze, but holy shit, it's difficult. Like it is not easy because you'll get to a point, and if I didn't have somebody like John helping me through it, I would be, I mean, in the middle of the road right now, like laying down. But like with someone like John kind of holding my hand through a lot of the process and just figuring out the different things that you need to do to connect all the applications. It was a nice, like as he said it in the podcast, like a nice parachute. Right. So I didn't feel like I was going it alone. I didn't feel like I was going to just crash into the ground. Because if somebody who just wants to say, all right, well, I just want to set up my system with something that's out of the box. One, from what he mentioned, it would, there's a lot of dangers in that. And then two, you may end up, buying a sale of goods that doesn't really work for you. And I think that that's one of the areas where I also have learned a ton. So through the process and through his tutelage, I've learned so much about like how to connect these systems and how to make sense of these systems, where I think, it's going to help us transfer this information over to other companies that we're working with.
Yeah, and I think with that, we're in an industry that is always capable of calling snake oil. There's things that we do that people either understand or don't understand. But the problem is there's actors in our industry that will sell snake oil and bullshit and rip people off.
I just talked to somebody yesterday who got, I'm going to say it, screwed over by 2 different large companies selling them a website and never delivered it. And I don't know why he keeps going back, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think, like, as we've spoken before to the freelancer, the agency, the in-house team, those are sort of that's kind of the crescendo of marketing. Either you're too small to afford it, you hire freelancers. You have enough to pay an agency to represent you and be part of your team extension if you're doing business with us. And then there's what we've also seen where we help a company grow so big that they have to bring 8 to 10 people in-house, which makes sense for a big enterprise level company. But all that being said, one dark side of this that I'm forecasting, which we've already seen little inklings of, is the imposters, the bad actors, because now you're going to have freelancers who are enterprise level experts who can do things solo wizard that can do everything, that will have all the answers, that just for a little bit more money. So it's unfortunate that this is clearly going to present the man with all the answers that's going to have the perfect process, the perfect AI solution. So as real life marketers, we are continuing to have to learn this stuff because we now have to protect our clients, and we also have to protect your colleagues, people that you've built relationships, I've built relationships with, because not only does the AI thing present a red flag of fear that now we are not afraid of anymore because we see it's going to build acumen, but unfortunately now this is going to present a big competition for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a competitor that is in the cloud, but like you said, the confidence factor that I have at this point, I get asked a lot of questions about this, more than anything else. And there's also a lot of speak about how people are sick of hearing about it. So we'll see what happens, but I think if maybe the dust settles, we're going to start to see more practical applications of this technology. And maybe some of the sizzle is going to just kind of settle down.
Like the grandiose, big, masterful, versus this thing's going to do these small things for you to make your life just a little bit easier, but that's going to open up your mind to be able to do that much more. Because I guess that's a good point. Is it going to raise the potential of human capability? No. It's just going to free up some head trash.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
For the human capability that you have. Because every human only has 100%, we'll say. Yeah. And if that 100% is taken 13 to 70% taken up by bullshit, it's not going to make you a robo-like version of yourself, but it might open your mind's capabilities to be able to do more. Yeah. That's the way we're looking at it. Now, with all that being said, in my world, as far as managing some of these ads campaigns, working with these platforms, it's clear that is where it's going, where machine learning was, 6 years ago, Google was touting machine learning. These things are going to help your campaigns work better. They're going to make the money, ROI, return on ad spend, trust. So machine learning is not new, but as we saw Meta completely sell out to the Andromeda playbook, we didn't feel great about it.
No, and that's something I'd like to ask you about, because I think you have your finger on that pulse on a day-to-day basis more than I do. But I think we both had our trepidations about the way that Andromeda was taking control, and we never let it take control. We've had multiple conversations with people at Meta and consultants and all sorts of different relationships. Basically, getting to the chase, what did you discover over the last, let's say, 5 months since Andromeda became kind of a master lever in the ad space.
Yeah, and I feel as though there's so many tiers to it because, for example, one tier of the AI stuff that they're touting is the creative and audience that, months ago, I think we talked about it here on the pod, but Andromeda, that was their big deal. You don't need to worry about your audience. Just make sure you have a lot of creative and the audience will be found by the AI, which sounds so stupid still. Well, there's that side of it where we adopted some of those principles to include more creative, not to use the tools at which Meta provides within the framework of Ads Manager, that the actual platform that you're using and clicking around to manage the campaign, that is also always changing, but then they'll work in user experience tools that all of a sudden you might skip over that detail because it's got a little asterisk and a little thing that has a beta thing next to it that makes you feel like, and then there's a suggestion pop up, and then the AI helper, and then you might even try this, and then all of a sudden, we discussed with our colleague who formerly worked at Meta, who's still managing campaigns, and he's like, yeah, you better be careful because all these things, if you don't check these boxes or make sure these are not checked, and of course I had to bite my lip to tell him, well, yeah, I'm aware.
Been doing that.
But I can see what you're talking about.
Been skeptical from the get.
Yeah, and I can see what you're saying, and I could see where there's a lot of people getting pissed off at agencies or whoever's managing their ads, or there's people managing ads that are saying, oh, fuck, I just wasted a bunch of money. I didn't realize that this was showing this AI ad with the logo that's not the company's logo, or this kid's got 6 fingers in this ad because you just said, auto apply recommendation or, meta recommendation. Yeah, let's do it.
Or they just throw so much at you, you're just like, okay, fine.
Yeah. And with all that being said, I think there is a little bit too much of that where, hey, humans are capable. We made it this far.
Man.
I think if there's some things where I'm like, I don't know if we needed to make that easier. It's just clicking a button.
Right.
Just making a decision.
Yeah.
Humans can do that.
Yeah.
We've evolved to the ability to choose one or the other.
But the other side of it, I bought those glasses, right? The Meta glasses. And I can just hit it and I can ask it a question and it gives me some pretty accurate answers.
And that's where there's things that it's clearly going to continue to be beneficial, but then there just seems to be this overuse of it to be maybe we could use it for something else. Because some of the things,
like we were talking about in the beginning with this stuff on how we're trying to streamline business processes.
And going back to our question marks about Andromeda, if it was going to work this well, how is Meta going to fucking make money off of it?
Right. Because if it's going to work so perfectly, then it's 100%.
There's no point in advertising.
Yeah.
Because you're getting so much return back. So Meta knows that. They're trying to make money.
It's like I said, the Thomas Edison light bulb.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that you do have to have a little bit of a lack of trust when working with trillion-dollar entities to remember, they care about you, but the most important thing is making money.
Line items.
Yeah.
And which also kind of brings back one of these points here on our paper is the layoffs. John was talking about line items and just being on a spreadsheet on how this is really wild how this whole thing broke down, because there was somebody who I was having a conversation with and they were talking about, we were using some of this technology for one of his companies, and then he called me to let me know that his wife was laid off, and it happened to coincide with just the John Porter conversation as well.
Yeah.
Because I was telling him about, you might want to check into this because he's starting a new business.
Yeah.
And now it's exactly what he was saying is that it's not AI. It was overhiring during COVID. And now they're letting the good go with the bad. And then the next call I had was somebody else who worked for a bank for 24 years who got let go, how they're forcing people back to work.
Yeah.
So I think that red herring that he was mentioning, I think that we're starting to see that more and more.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my eyes weren't really open to it because maybe I didn't have enough conversations with people that were in that boat.
Yeah.
But I feel that, it just was so bizarre that all of it kind of came around within 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I think that's why like doing these styles of episodes on the pod is beneficial for our show, is because the goal is obviously to tell these good stories of these other business owners, but also to tell our story and allow someone to get a little taste of how we approach things, what we do, because not everybody knows what we do. But I think like going back to the logo, like we talked about the Plant Your Flag logo, that sort of web in the background was all based on my observation of how your business and your approach to business went so far beyond just dollars and cents and contractual obligations, but trust, relationships, business still, because that's things get hard, but without trust, it's a lot harder. Those conversations are a lot harder, getting them to bite, getting them to believe. But I think ultimately, like, this podcast has created its own sort of microorganism that has allowed us to study ourselves, study our life from a different perspective, and realize that we are in it. We are in the middle of it. We do have a good job.
Yeah,
do know what we're doing.
Do have a good job, man.
We're real business people. We're real. We have real clients, and it's just sort of, you forget sometimes. And then to talk to these other businesses, be able to reflect. That's why we think these styles of episode might be beneficial, because it allows us to tell more of our story.
No, it does. And like we glossed over the fact that 20 years ago the business started.
Yeah.
And 13 years ago we won our first major award, and was presented on the floor of the house, which was pretty wild. And I didn't really think about it until it just kind of circled back around, and I think that, like you said, we are in the middle of it, and we don't necessarily always see it because we have our own circles, and we do business with a lot of different companies, but it doesn't necessarily mean that because we only have X amount of employees and that we're smaller than we think we are, right?
Yeah, the footprint has expanded and it's palpable. And I think this show has created a little bit more buzz about us, giving people a little bit more of us, which is all we wanted to accomplish. It's been fruitful in terms of building awareness for us. And then, like I said, just giving a little bit more of a backstage pass to us instead of, it gives our clients a little more of us too. Like, I'm sure they don't really want more of us always, but we get to talk.
It depends. And we were just kind of talking earlier about how we find that some of our best relationships are the clients who want to talk with us.
Yeah.
They call and say, can we, instead of every quarter, can we talk every month or every 2 weeks or whatever it might be? And we're open to that kind of stuff because if we know what they're doing and vice versa, then we're all going to be in a better shape.
Yeah, it's definitely become clear that that's necessary to have that two-way street in order for it to work as far as the agency model. I know we're getting down towards the end here, but I did want to just sort of wrap with one thing that's just kind of an interesting, I think, conversation, and we'll leave our viewers on somewhat of a thought process. But something came up recently. We were on a call with a client. We were going over some SEO, AEO type things, answer engine optimization. So as you may or may not know, when you go to Google and you do a search, if you remember, there was some FAQ style results that would show up. Well, Google announced recently that's completely gone. You won't see those FAQs anymore. SEO FAQ stuff has been huge the last 5 years because formulating content on your site that's going to be good for that style of search result page. Well, now that's dead. That's gone. And as you see at the top, it's going to be that answer that's derived from Google that's going to give you the sources and it's going to give you that summary. The discussion with our client was, is it really that beneficial to be in that discussion, or like, is that just vanity? And that's something that's always come up in SEO world, as you know, being in SEO. So talk to us a little bit about how that kind of the vanity metrics and showing up in search was always good, but turning up in search to dollars has not new. That's always been a part of SEO. But kind of how the AEO and getting into that answer might build some trustworthiness, and just kind of walk us through, because obviously I didn't do SEO before here. So kind of walk us through some of that history and what you're seeing and feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like a couple of different layers to that, because there, like way back, I saw like a graphic and it would talk about different SEO clients. And there was the one who wanted the results because they wanted to be on page one and they didn't care just because they wanted to beat their competitor. There was another one who wanted to make money, and it went so on and so on, right? But I think right now, with the way that the results are showing, there's always a benefit to being the expert. And I think that there's a reason why they added that extra E in EEAT like about a year ago. Maybe it was a little bit longer than that. I think that the reason that they did that is because they were projecting that this was going to be a piece of their model. They tweaked it? Yeah. But at the same time, if you're showing up and it might not turn into dollars and cents, but if you're driving down the throughway and you are driving 70 miles an hour and you barely catch a billboard, is that turning into dollars and cents?
Yeah.
So if somebody is looking for an answer and you happen to be the credible expert that provides it, that person does end up clicking on your site. Google, people trust.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what we mentioned, was the philosophy of the searcher. It's going to depend on what they're looking for that day. But we had mentioned the difference between an encyclopedia and a phone book. And like, you might be looking up the answer in an encyclopedia, but ultimately when you need that service that answer is related to, you're going to go to the phone book, psychologically.
Right.
Google is both of those things for the searcher. So in building trust, if you're there, or if your website or brand is being cited in the AEO result, it may not turn into a sale right then and there, but it's going to psychologically impact the trustworthiness of your organization to be there.
Yeah, and if you rely on that alone, it's probably a bad marketing strategy.
I think that's a big wake-up call for clients walking in now versus 10 years ago. Is we say it all the time, for better or worse, SEO is a necessary evil, that if you're not doing it, you're failing, because it's not a lead gen tool. It's not going to go out there and generate you warm, qualified leads, but it is there to present you with that trustworthiness, that brand recognition, and ultimately, once again, present you as an expert in your field when someone is searching about your field.
Right.
That's all you can accomplish with SEO or AEO.
Right. Yeah.
That's the goal. And doing that in as many different ways as you can over time.
Right.
Because that way your footprint grows, and all of a sudden you're showing up for something, and then it's like, well, I didn't know they did this.
Mm-hmm. It goes back to like even before this existed, like with Bradley, there was they had their truck out front. The woman Googled the name of the company. She was kind of rude to him in the beginning. When he went into the backyard of the neighbor, he came back out. She said, I looked you up. I saw your videos. I saw all the things that you had online. Can I get your card? Like it's it's like being available.
Yeah, sometimes it's untrackable, sometimes it's unmeasurable. And I think we have, once again, evidence of that with this show. Like, we have immeasurable results that we have been able to feel that we can't quantify in likes, comments, shares, views, whatever.
Yeah.
But all we know is there's a buzz and there's interest that maybe wasn't there from this level of quality and quantity of demand.
Yeah.
Because going back to when I first started here, it was evident that you were very good at building the connections and not burning the connection in the logo, in the Plant Your Flag logo.
Yeah, you don't want to burn bridges.
Because if
in
you
Buffalo,
cut off one of those, if you snip one of those.
Because they did that too much of that in 1812.
Let's say you snip one of those lines. Then that is going to grow in other directions, but you just lost all those future connections that you may have made.
Right.
So that's some of what I've taken away from you and tried to apply to our culture and our new employees and team. And I think, it's something that people can feel and they like, and that's why they like working with us. So,
and we like working with them.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you wanted to check on before we...
No.
I had like a super smooth transition into a close, and I was like, he might want to talk about one more thing.
No, I'm good. I think we hit everything.
No, that's good. So I guess I opened. So do you want to close?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for everyone for listening. Obviously, we always appreciate it. I want to say, if you do have anyone that you feel deserves to tell their story about starting their business, if they want to tell more about where it's going, how they have felt during the process, we love hearing it. And who knows, maybe we can help you. But just let us know. You can reach us through the website, contact form, or by phone. Just give us a call. We're always available. And thank you to Mike. Thank you to Drake.
Thanks, Jer.
And we'll keep on keeping on, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Plant Your Flag.
Sorry. Oh, we got to do the BSA.
Is that camera on?
Does everything sound okay?
Dozens.
Oh my God, they're probably looking at my white, pale forehead. The logo that I created was not appropriate for all uses, so we flipped it into a little badge. And now Drakey has a nice badgie.
Wait.
Yeah, you'll see.
I don't even know about this badge.
It's like, the goal is so you don't. It's like kind of the same thing, but just a slightly simplified
Which is, I think that's a sign of business growth.
Yes.
When I don't know what the fuck's going on here.
Yeah.